My name is Hannah Morgan and I am a student of Harmony Public Schools. This is my PBL video presentation of my project, Indicator Sponge. As stated before, the title of my project is Indicator Sponge. The objective of my project was to observe the change in color of the indicator sponge provided and decide what occurred to cause this change. Note that before the start of the experiment, the sponge provided was red in color. That, as well as the fact that red and blue food coloring were added to the acid and base respectively. To begin the experiment, you take the acid solution and submerge the red sponge completely. The acid solution has turned your red sponge into one of a bluish color. From there, you take the now blue sponge and submerge it into the base solution and observe the change in it. You can see here that the blue sponge reverts back to its original red color after being submerged into the base solution. It isn't the food coloring that changes the color of the sponge, but actually the pH levels of the acid and base that affect the color of the sponge. It is a specially made sponge that turns a certain color when detecting pH levels, true to its name, indicator sponge. For example, the sponge turned blue when dipped into the acid to detect the low level of pH in the acid. The opposite applies for the base solution. The sponge turned red in color to indicate that the base had a high pH level. As for my ELA component to the project, I wrote a narrative essay on things such as why I chose the project, the outcome of my experiment, and my experience with the entirety of the PBL program. For my social studies component, I chose to go into the history of acids and bases and study how their pH levels were first discovered and applied. That concludes my PBL presentation for my project, Indicator Sponge. Thank you for watching Harmony Public Schools.